Herb Baumeister was an American suspected serial killer who gained attention in the 1990s after a string of mysterious deaths and disappearances were linked to him. Here's detailed information about his life and the allegations against him. Early life and background. Herbert Richard Baumeister was born on April 7, 1947, in Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. He came from a relatively affluent family and later became involved in the family business, managing a thrift store called Salve, any that he co-owned with his wife. Marriage and family. Baumeister was married to Juliana Julias Baumeister, and they had 3 children together. They lived in a large house in the suburbs of Indianapolis. The killings and disappearances. In the 1990s, a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances of gay men were reported in the area near Baumeister's home. The men were known to frequent gay bars and clubs, and some had been last seen leaving these establishments with an unidentified man. As the investigations progressed, law enforcement began to uncover evidence that connected Baumeister to some of the victims. Discovery of evidence. In 1996, police received a tip that led them to search the Baumeister property. They discovered human remains buried on the property, including a wooded area known as Fox Hollow Farm. The remains were eventually identified as those of missing men. Baumeister's death. As investigators closed in on him, Baumeister disappeared. His abandoned car was found near a lake, and his body was discovered in Canada in July 1996. He had died by suicide, which prevented any trial or definitive resolution to the allegations against him. Possible motivations. The motives behind Baumeister's alleged crimes remain speculative. Some theories suggest that he may have targeted men he met in the gay community due to personal conflicts or internalized homophobia. Others propose that Baumeister's psychological struggles or personal issues could have contributed to his violent behavior. Legacy and impact. The case garnered significant media attention due to the gruesome nature of the crimes and the fact that it remained unsolved at the time of Baumeister's death. The discovery of remains on his property raised questions about how he was able to operate undetected for years. Media coverage. The case has been the subject of various books, articles, documentaries, and true crime shows, delving into the allegations against Baumeister and the investigation surrounding the deaths and disappearances. Open questions. Baumeister's death by suicide prevented a full legal resolution to the case. As a result, there are still unanswered questions regarding the extent of his involvement, the motivations behind the alleged crimes, and the identities of all his victims. The Herb Baumeister case remains a disturbing and perplexing chapter in the history of criminal investigations, highlighting the challenges of identifying and apprehending serial killers, as well as the impact of unsolved mysteries on communities and the legal system. A couple of theories that have been proposed to explain what might have driven him to commit such crimes. 1. Personal conflicts and internalized homophobia. One theory suggests that Baumeister's alleged crimes could have been driven by personal conflicts and possibly internalized homophobia. Baumeister was known to frequent gay bars and clubs, and many of his alleged victims were gay men. It's possible that he harbored deep-seated resentment or hatred toward the gay community, possibly due to internal struggles with his own sexuality or other personal issues. This theory posits that Baumeister may have targeted gay men as a way to act out his unresolved feelings and conflicts. 2. Psychological disturbances and power dynamics. Another theory explores the possibility that Baumeister had underlying psychological disturbances that contributed to his violent behavior. Serial killers often exhibit a need for control and power over their victims. Baumeister's alleged targeting of men who were known to frequent gay bars could indicate that he sought victims who he perceived as vulnerable or who wouldn't be immediately missed. If he had narcissistic or sadistic tendencies, he might have derived a sense of dominance and control from his actions, leading him to commit violent acts. 3. Escapism and fantasy. Some experts suggest that serial killers may engage in their crimes as a form of escapism or to fulfill their fantasies. Baumeister's alleged crimes occurring over a span of time could indicate that he used these acts to escape from his everyday life or to live out a dark fantasy. The anonymity and fleeting connections he might have had with his victims in the gay community could have fueled his sense of detachment and allowed him to act out these fantasies without immediate consequences. 4. Stressors and disruptions. External stressors and disruptions in Baumeister's life, such as financial difficulties, marital issues, or personal setbacks, could have contributed to his alleged violent behavior. If he was struggling to cope with challenges and felt overwhelmed, he might have turned to violent acts as a way to exert control or release pent-up frustration. It's important to note that these theories are speculative and based on psychological, criminological, and sociological perspectives. The true motivations behind Herb Baumeister's alleged crimes remain unknown, and multiple factors could have played a role in his actions. The absence of a trial and conclusive evidence due to his suicide leaves many questions unanswered, adding to the complexity of the case. Some interesting facts about Herb Baumeister. Successful businessman. Before the allegations against him came to light, Herb Baumeister was known as a successful businessman. He co-owned a thrift store called Sav Penny with his wife Julie, and they had achieved financial stability. Fox Hollow Farm. Baumeister's property, known as Fox Hollow Farm, became infamous for the discoveries made there. The sprawling estate was later dubbed the House of Horrors due to the human remains found buried on the property. Vacations with his family. Despite the allegations against him, Baumeister took his family on vacations during the years when the disappearances and murders were occurring. This contrast between his family life and the disturbing crimes created a chilling dichotomy. Nature preserve. Fox Hollow Farm included large wooded areas and a nature preserve. This environment provided Baumeister with secluded locations where he could potentially commit his alleged crimes and bury the victims' remains. Sudden disappearance. As law enforcement closed in on him, Herb Baumeister disappeared. He was the subject of a nationwide manhunt. His abandoned car was found near a lake in Pinery Provincial Park in Canada, and his body was eventually discovered there in July 1996. He had died by suicide. Unanswered questions. Baumeister's suicide prevented a trial and a definitive resolution to the allegations against him. Many questions about his involvement, the extent of his crimes, and his motivations remain unanswered. Connections to other serial killers. Some have speculated about potential connections between Herb Baumeister and other serial killers active during that time. However, these connections are speculative and lack concrete evidence. Media and pop culture. The case has been the subject of various true crime books, documentaries, and television shows. It continues to capture the interest of those fascinated by the psychology of serial killers and unsolved mysteries. Impact on Fox Hollow Farm. The discovery of human remains on the property has left a haunting legacy. Fox Hollow Farm has been the site of paranormal investigations and is considered by some to be haunted due to its dark history. Community shock. The revelations about Baumeister's alleged crimes shocked the community, as he had been seen as an unassuming businessman. This case highlighted the unsettling reality that monsters can sometimes hide in plain sight. Law enforcement efforts. The investigations into the disappearances and murders spanned several years. Law enforcement faced challenges due to the nature of the crimes, the geographical spread of the victims, and the absence of modern technology available today. Herb Baumeister's case remains a disturbing and enigmatic part of true crime history, raising questions about the psychology of killers, the impact of unsolved mysteries, and the complexities of criminal investigations. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the intriguing tale. If you enjoyed this video and found the information fascinating, we encourage you to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on more engaging content.